Hello, good morning. Happy Friday. An exhaustingly hot, horrible week out here on the East Coast. You are tuned into the Ted Manila Information Show, TMI show for short, because we bring you way too much information. I am Manila Chan. That's the T of the show, Ted Rall. In fact, we spill the tea sometimes too. I averted any libel lawsuits yesterday, Ted, by not spilling all of the tea.
Kind of feeling sad about that, though.
About the Bezos tea? I can't. Are you kidding?
We could look. First of all, we could use the publicity of a good libel suit. Secondly, have you ever been sued for libel? I have. I've sued and been sued. You know, you're not really a real journalist until you've been sued for libel.
I've heard that. Just like
I can help you. I know all about it.
That's what happened when I was moonlighting as a realtor in Los Angeles, and one day I got my first lawsuit because of some shady buyers, but I'm like on top of all my documents, my papers, and so basically I'm flying back and forth between DC and LA for this stupid lawsuit, and basically the judge sees it, and the judge is like, "Sir, is that your signature on, document blah blah blah, blah, acknowledging that, this you are knowingly buying an unpermitted garage conversion?" I mean, it's stated in plain English. Yes, that's my signature. Okay, this is all done. Like, Manila, you're free to go.
We're done here.
But
I love that when that happens. I love
the broker basically told me, he said, "Congratulations, Manila. You are officially a realtor now. Like, you're not a realtor until you get a client trying to sue you for something frivolous." So that was it. So I guess, either I've been very careful with journalism to not be libelous, or I'm just not a real journalist, but
you can change that today.
I'm not going to spill the tea on the fourth richest man in the world.
What do you spill the
I
tea?
don't
I've never
dare.
heard this expression before. What's spill the tea?
You don't know
the beans. Spill the beans.
No. They say now, spill the tea, Ted. Get with it. Ask your son.
What?
Ask your son.
Yes.
That's what
That's what the Zoomers are doing. And
Rumble
YouTube
Room and YouTube. Tell Ted.
All right.
The expression is now spill the tea. So I will not spill the tea on the fourth richest man in the world because he has eyes and ears everywhere. And this could potentially be libelous.
Well, he's a little distracted right now with his $76 million wedding.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say he was distracted with the giant bazoombas that he was marrying.
Well, he's been distracted by those for a long time.
For years.
Yeah. I mean, and I can't blame him for that. I would be too.
Hey, we saw Trump's inauguration.
Those are very big boobs. All right, Ray is confirming your point. Fuck.
Thank you. Get with it, Ted. Yeah.
All right, thank you,
we
Ray.
saw Mark
Appreciate
Zuckerberg. Mark Zuckerberg was
Juan
distracted by the
thing.
bazoombas at Trump's inauguration. Remember, there were photos of Zuckerberg standing next to Lauren Sanchez at the inauguration, and he kept kind of side-eyeing her.
By the way,
she was wearing like a bustier.
If memory serves, isn't Mrs. Zuckerberg also she's not a small-breasted lady? I mean, they're not.
But giant. She doesn't dress like that.
I know she wears like
Priscilla.
Priscilla of the desert. She wears like much looser clothes, right?
Yeah, very modest. She's very modest. Mm-hmm. And, maybe that's why Zuck had to buy his wife that scary green statue of her to make up for eyeballing other women's bazoombas.
Honestly, I don't understand.
All is forgiven. You gave me an ugly statue.
When guys check out other ladies in public, I mean, that just means they're heterosexual. That's all. It doesn't mean they don't love you. Doesn't mean they don't want to have sex with you. Doesn't mean they don't want to
or they think any less of you
till Sunday. It just means they're heterosexual. That's all.
They're just dudes. They're just I agree. I'm not
guys being guys.
I'm not one of those women. I don't
mean your tongue should be hanging on the ground. That's gross.
No, that's different. That's disrespectful. But I mean, if a guy, your husband or boyfriend turns and chill, ladies, chill.
But the discreet, I mean, besides which, when I was a little kid, I was walking one time at the Hills and Dales Shopping Center in Kettering, Ohio, and I saw this biker dude with his huge-breasted partner, and they were bigger than Lauren's, and they were trying to escape out of the top. Like she was like Dolly Parton big. So I must have been staring. I was a little kid, and and the guy goes, "What are you looking at?" And even at that age, I go, "What do you think I'm looking at?"
But to a kid, what kind of biker?
You want to be looked at. Yeah, this is why
she wants to be looked at.
Yeah, and he wanted her to be looked at. Like, come on.
That's the whole point. Yeah. That is the whole point, and why Lauren Sanchez was wearing a bustier top to Donald Trump's inauguration that was like lace and see-through, because she wanted Washington to look.
I like the fact that she dresses like a tramp. I mean, seriously, I don't have a problem with that.
I don't either. I don't care. Like, she looks amazing. She's, I don't know about her face work, but
that's what I don't. That to me is the skank part.
Neck down, she looks amazing. She's like late 50s.
Yes, and if you've got it, flaunt it, man.
But the stuff from here up,
that's the skank look.
You
can get the girl out of Ronkonkoma, but you can't get the gum out of her mouth. It's like that.
Well, look, you've seen story. I mean, this is how you guys know it's Friday, because we're just over the week and we're talking about weird stuff like this.
Yeah,
but look, bottom line, Ted, there are a number of women and there are some men too, like who Mickey Rourke, like where you get one too many facelifts and.
Are you kidding? Mickey Rourke looks like he was run over by a freight train.
But that's what I'm saying. When you get too much work done from the neck up, you start looking like a cat face. And not like Clovis. Like, this is like a bad way. And Lauren Sanchez is too young for that. She's only like 55 or 56. She shouldn't Yeah, it's
All right,
kind
let's
of
get to it here.
a little much, just saying. Anyway,
Right.
this is our Friday show. This is what it sounds like. But we are live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So make sure you guys hit the like and the follow, the subscribe button, all of that. YouTubers, I'm looking at you, kid. Please hit that subscribe button so we can be like YouTube official. And yeah, Robbie's reiterating how much he is a boob man.
I mean, so I have a story. I know I said we should get to the news. I'm a hypocritical bastard. So I was on a bus full, like basically the bus version of the bar scene in Star Wars. This is in on the Karakoram Highway between in Xinjiang and Pakistani Kashmir. There's Afghans, Talibs, Uzbeks, Uyghurs, Pakistanis. I mean, everyone, some Canadians, me, all on board. It's a long ride. It takes weeks. And so at one point, this Talib is sitting next to me and he's like strikes up a conversation about women. And he's like, so what do Americans look for in a woman? And he meant physically. And and I said, America's a large and diverse nation, and I don't want to speak for all of our heterosexual men. However, I myself, I like to look at a woman's legs. And he's like, why is that? And I said, well, it's like if a woman has nice legs, and even if that's all you can see, it's a good indicator of other things. There's not many women with nice legs who have like a bad butt, for example. Usually a good butt
that's fair.
Good legs lead to a good butt.
That's fair.
And everything sort of naturally tends to follow from there. And I said, and so we kept riding, bouncing along. And then he said, so aren't you going to ask me about what we look for in my country? And I'm like, sure. What do you look for? And he goes, the eyes. We look at the eyes. And bear in mind, this is when the Taliban were still running Afghanistan.
They're back to running it. So
I'm like, I was like, you don't really have a lot of other options, right? That's all you can see. And he didn't see the humor in that at all.
He just, oh my God. So, he
was very serious. He was very serious.
Oh,
like
we look for the eyes.
I'm like, I should think so.
I would imagine so. You can't say her beautiful, long, lush hair. You can't,
no,
not even her sexy elbows.
Nope. Those are carefully hidden.
Don't know, but I will
Can't
confirm.
see the ankles. No. We can't see if this is a Hillary
cankles
are
a sign of something. The cankles.
Well,
if you have
good ankles,
your leg theory
might lead to good legs.
No. Cankles are the big.
I know, but I'm saying so the opposite. So cankles tend to be a really bad indicator. I mean, There's not many women with cankles who otherwise look cute. I mean, I have seen them, but it's exceptional.
Well, one of the exceptions, if you actually look, is Beyonce.
Huh.
She has really strong legs, but the shape of them, she has really big ankles.
That's
like
true.
There's no like definitive like calf to ankle ratio. It's kind of just big solid tree trunks. Like just I mean she'll kick your ass down.
Yeah, she looks
with
strong,
those legs.
and that can be very, very, very cute.
So yeah. But the rest of her looks great.
Please
anyway,
put request from please pop Robbie on. He has something to say.
Robbie wants to add to this.
He has a promotion.
Email discussion.
He has a promotion he wants to make.
No, I have nothing to contribute to this particular conversation. However, for those of you who are on Rumble, if y'all have not seen the premium episode that Ted and I did yesterday about the Central Asian republics, I highly recommend it. It's full of comedy. There's no boob talk, sadly. I wish that there was, but there was none. But we covered everything from Ted's being pushed off of a cliff in a 1943 Nazi era plane to which country is it that you want to live in. For the record, I think Ted and I both agree that Kazakhstan would be the best place if I was going to. It's like the Montana of Asia, and I can get behind that. If y'all have not seen it, And yeah, for those of you on YouTube, you're screwed because it's a Rumble Premium exclusive. And if you're on Rumble, if you're not a Rumble Premium subscriber, you're screwed. So go to Rumble.
If you subscribed now, could you look at the old one?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I've
So
actually
you're not
put them
permanently screwed. You're just sort of out of the loop.
Yeah, you're freemiumed out. So what you need to do is go to Rumble. We'll post the link over on the YouTube chat. Become a monthly subscriber to Rumble Premium, and go watch, because Ted and I were both laughing so hard we were literally crying on screen. It was awesome.
That's true. It was great.
100%. Yeah,
the shorts are doing well. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, hey, I mean,
on YouTube. So all right.
Well, I mean, hey, we covered everything. I mean, it was a really
Central
fun.
If you really want to know
time.
about Central Asia in about an hour, everything you need to know about every country in
all the stand
Central,
countries, basically,
you will be fully informed.
Listen, if I was a unmarried bachelor, I would 100% go to Kazakhstan, get myself some 6 foot tall Kazakh woman with a big rack and purple eyes, and I would 100% do it. You heard it here first. Just saying.
Big rack.
Boobs. Boobs. Hey, I'm married to a black woman. There's a reason why. Okay, it's all about the rack for me. That's all I've got. Bye.
Bye. And Ted, to your point about the Taliban women with the same thing, even in Dubai, do you know the hottest selling makeup thing there for non-expats, for locals, is all like eye makeup, mascaras, lashes, shadow.
Do you think that's where JD Vance goes?
Ooh, that's possible. They've been specializing in like eyes and eyelash stuff there since I lived there. So almost 20 years ago, they've been doing lash extensions. That's their thing, man. I mean, but we get why.
Yeah, we do understand why.
We get why, but that's the thing. But I'll tell you, Ted, the Taliban doesn't have any Victoria's Secrets in Afghanistan. I don't think. But we had them all over the UAE, and let me tell you, when those ladies get in the dressing rooms and come out and show their girlfriends or whatever, and it's all ladies, right? They are buying some very risque things.
That's awesome.
So underneath those abayas and the hijabs, and there's some very risque things happening under there. And I know so because I'm in the dressing rooms with the women.
Too. There's some very hot ladies there, yeah.
Very beautiful. The veils come off and you're like, that's what you look like under there?
Mm-hmm.
Holy moly. Like, they're very beautiful ladies there that you would never know because this is all you see.
Of course. Soon in New York City, under Mayor Mamdani, it will be the same here.
That's the new rule under Mayor. That's awful, Ted. That is also
sarcastic. Just joking. Not true.
Somebody's gonna flag us for being racist. No, actually, the is a celebratory sound.
Yes, it is.
Either you're shooting guns into the air
and
you're saying Allahu Akbar and you're celebrating, or you're at a wedding. Or you're at a wedding and you're going, and they're clapping.
Hey, one time I had that experience at the movies in Central Asia, and I heard gunfire, and people there really liked the scene. It was an action movie, and so they were shooting into they did that, and they were shooting into the ceiling. And I'm like, when the lights came on, I was like, oh, this happens a lot.
So Ted, I should have asked this yesterday. So if you find a woman and she's dressed up like an umbrella, how do you know that you want to marry her? I mean, because if all you can see are the people,
how they're dressed in Central Asia.
No,
you mean like in Afghanistan?
No, I'm talking about the Middle East. Yeah, I'm talking about the Middle East in
the Arab world.
Oh well, it's because it's arranged marriages.
It's arranged. Yeah,
so what happens is like the parents get together, and they're like, little Robbie needs to get married. He's he's pushing 18, and so we've got to get him married off. And it's like my daughter Manila is she's great, and she cleans the house really well. She's 12, which means she's a little old for you, but she might be okay, and she cooks and she cleans really well, and her goat milking.
Well,
is
it's
like
the
off
family.
The
Yeah,
charts.
the families
Gotcha.
decide like if they like each other,
Right.
Gotcha.
and if the families can get along, and the dads like each other. If the dads can be bros and homies, then the son and daughter can be arranged.
So you just hope that whoever's that you're going to marry doesn't look like they got hit in the face with a shovel.
Right.
Well,
However,
basically for the daughters,
most
the
people-
daughters tell the moms, like
what they're looking for.
what they think is a handsome husband. Like, oh, I want him
Right.
to be tall. I want him to have hazel eyes. And mom, can you find me a boy that looks like that? So you
Right.
hope that your mom does
And
it.
the guy will say, I want a girl who's fair, or I want one who's
Right.
dusky, or whatever. And like the thing is, most parents really do take this seriously.
Yeah.
They're not like American parents who are like, you get what you get and you don't get upset. Shut the fuck up. Marry this like person, and if you hate them, fuck you. It's not like that. It's like it's a duty. It's like you're really working, and if you've been doing this for thousands of years this way, you tend to get good at it.
And when you are in terms of these like these Asian continental arranged marriages, when they are age appropriate, right? For the most part, when they're age appropriate and the parents are doing this, in good faith, those marriages work out much better than American marriages.
That's true.
Much better.
They have a
much
remarkable
better.
record of success.
The people, the couples, if
they
the
fall
parents
in love,
do the age,
they're bonded. They have plenty.
They're
of sex.
bonded.
They like each other.
Yeah, like the marriages are actually like more happy than Western. Like, I love so and so. I'm gonna marry so and so. Those marriages, when your parents, pick the right person for you and give you a say in what husband or what wife to look for, and your parents play matchmaker, they have a resoundingly better net non-divorce happy marriage
is much better.
number.
Yeah.
One thing I'm going to say this, and then we have an ad.
I would never have trusted my mom to set me up with a girl, though.
My son went on his third date last night with his little Ukrainian girlfriend. He's very happy about that, and her parents invited him over to their house. They fed him a traditional Ukrainian meal, and he had a nice sit down with the girl's dad. They talked and they shook hands, and things are going along really well. And so good times.
Well,
I won't make any Ukrainian war jokes.
Yeah, no jokes.
She doesn't watch the show anyway.
All right, cool.
We're too pro Putin, but this.
I know they would. Her dad would see this show and ban her from dating your spawn.
Well, you got to remember. I mean, my YouTube Rumble channel is called Putinbot Gaming.
Although Ukrainians who are outside of Ukraine are free to criticize Zelensky.
Well, here's the thing.
I don't know if they do.
Well, evidently sarcasm is not a thing in Ukraine. So I had to explain to him that it was pure sarcasm, because just the humor aspect just was completely lost on him. But I'll go away now and I'll pop the ad whenever y'all are ready.
So we
have an ad going already.
We do, huh? What'd you say, Ted?
Well,
they don't have sarcasm in Ukraine.
Definitely not to
Lord
the style.
knows they have it in Russia.
I was gonna say the Russian humor is very sarcastic and dry.
They at least talking to this particular family, like there is no concept of sarcasm at all. But you got to remember, though.
So
I mean,
Zelensky's TV show, if you guys remember Zelensky's his TV show, I don't know how funny that is because it's in Ukrainian, but some of his like Dancing with the Stars type performances on their shows, he did do the Justin Timberlake Dick in a Box.
Well, he played the piano with his penis.
And the piano. He loved his penis jokes.
I mean, look, I don't know about you, Robbie. I
don't know if that's funny.
With my penis. I mean, I can't play the piano at all. So I can play the skin flute, maybe. Maybe not.
I've never
what is happening today?
Hey, this is Friday. Y'all could just dispose. Y'all could just get rid of the headlines because it's obviously not going to happen today.
Just weird shit talking on a Friday. Penises and boobs.
Hey, listen.
Okay, we have an ad to do. I don't think that the ad sponsor wants to follow.
It's from Rumble.
They do.
It's listen. It's from Rumble. They honestly don't care.
All right,
Ted, you want me to read it, or want me to put it up for you?
Put it on me. Let the New Yorker read it. We need to move on.
So you're trying to say that I'm
you're
too
slow as shit? Yes.
Yes.
In terms of talking.
What the hell? Okay.
You think fast,
Southerners talk too slow.
This is true. Okay, it ain't populating. It's screwed up right now.
Never mind. All right,
all right. Let's move. Let's head over.
Into the first topic.
Hold on.
Let's do the headline.
Stop! You're damn sure just lying to me. Hold on, just 1 second. Hold on, Ted.
Holy crap!
This is Friday. We had technical difficulties to get
going.
Is it
an ad for boobs?
Are
you a heterosexual male?
1775.
It's Rumble
coffee.
All right, here we go.
So,
shocking.
Up
Never seen this one before. All right, here we go. Still haven't tried 1775 coffee? Now's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. Only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold, dark roast. It's harder than a CNN fact check. The smooth medium roast and the Vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus, no crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin-free and mold-free. Plus, you're also getting a gold-silver clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. A frother strong enough to stir up your coffee and your mother-in-law's political opinions, in a black 1775 tumbler that says, I don't take life advice or caffeine from a woke sea witch. $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching the 1775. Blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is. Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone, daddy gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does. Start your day with coffee that actually backs what you believe. All right, let's get into our first story finally.
And a shout out to the Rumble Room, Alex49, $5 donation. Thank you very much for that, Alex, or Alec X. I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but shout out to you. Thank you so much for that donation. So I guess you're enjoying our Weird Friday. It gets like this sometimes. We're suffering from heat stroke.
Yeah, that's true. I'm still fried.
I couldn't wake up this morning.
I still have a residual.
Yesterday.
You know when you have that core, like, lingering post-headache? I have that right now.
Like a dull. I just have like the life drained out of me because I had to be outdoors yesterday.
I feel like I was kicked down the stairs.
I'm dead.
It's much nicer now, though. All right, let's do it.
Yes.
All right, so it was just a year today. So much has changed. Today, June 27th, 2024, when Joe Biden had his disastrous debate against Donald Trump on CNN. He was widely criticized for his hoarse voice, frequent loss of train of thought, and total inability to coherently say or do anything. That was the beginning of the end. The debate triggered widespread alarm within minutes inside the Democratic Party. Media outlets like Politico reported a Biden crisis as strategists, donors, and commentators called for him to step aside, including the editorial board of the New York Times. By July 19th, over 30 senior Democrats had urged Biden to step out. July 21st, 3 weeks later, Biden announced that he would withdraw from the race. He endorsed Kamala Harris, his vice president, as the Democratic nominee. Nothing like that had been seen since LBJ in 1968. But what LBJ did was different. He withdrew before the primaries. Biden pulled out after he'd already secured the nomination. Harris, of course, was not a gifted candidate to begin with. She faced a compressed campaign timeline. She had to run on Biden's record, which was very unpopular. And she was even less popular than he was. Ultimately, of course, she lost a disastrous landslide to Donald Trump. And that was pretty much that's the political situation today. Of course, meanwhile, Trump looked like a boss, surviving not one but two assassination attempts and campaigning vigorously throughout the time. And now there's some preliminary hearings about Biden's mental fitness. The Senate Judiciary Committee was looking into that, but the Democrats walked out of it as if they were doing something wrong. That be politics. And so Democratic Party is now a complete shit show. And they have never recovered from the lack of credibility, the loss of credibility with the voters. They haven't really made any move to atone for it. The Democrat, their whole brand has been massively tarnished, Manila. Their brand was Trump lies and we don't. We tell you the truth. Turns out they lie at least as much as Trump does. So it's like that. I mean, they literally, to put this into perspective, we now know from Jake Tapper's book, Original Sin, that that Biden's mental acuity was already in question before he announced his intention to run in 2019. It probably goes up all the way back to Bo's death in 2015. Basically throughout his 2020 candidacy, the grift and the cover up were on, because they were able to hide Joe Biden in the basement of his house in Delaware to so he didn't have to actually campaign.
In tandem with COVID. So it just worked out.
Because of COVID. COVID really worked out for him. And then basically for 4 years, they hid him not only from the American public, but certainly from journalists. They hid him even from White House staffers and even from cabinet members. By some reports, only a few cabinet members got to see the president, lay eyes on him in his last
entire
few years
term.
in office. Yeah. They almost none of them ever got to meet with him. The White House
I don't think Pete Buttigieg. I don't think he ever met one-on-one with Biden ever.
No, that's right. It's really crazy. And then after all this, the Democrats, instead of thinking, "Wow, we were really lucky to get away with that," they decided to re-up and try for another 4 years and see if they could extend this charade out to the age of 86 in the year 2028, by which time we'll probably have flying cars. I mean, it's completely insane.
Ted, can you imagine? Let's imagine an alternate universe right now where George Clooney didn't bring down Biden's presidency and re-election. Let's imagine this alternate universe, right? That everybody, including Clooney, stayed in line, including Jake Tapper. The book never happened. Let's say Biden did win. Let's say he stayed on and he won, because as the Democrats purported, he was the only candidate that could beat Biden because he did it before, and Joe Biden, doggone it, is going to do it again. So Joe wins again. Can you imagine what would today look like? Like, would we be in this Iran-Israel hate triangle? I believe Gaza would still be happening. I don't believe would be. I don't believe there. I believe the war in Ukraine would be intensified had this guy continued, because Tony Blinken loved all of the wars. He loved what was happening in Gaza. Tony Blinken loved what was happening in Ukraine. He would be doubling down and sending untold amounts of tranches of bajillions of dollars. Tony Blinken would be, like meeting up with Nancy Pelosi and everybody else to continue war efforts. And I think at this point, NATO would probably be in a full-on hot war with Russia. So as much as I have complaints about Trump and, me voting in my singular self-interest in hopes that perhaps I could get my job back if Trump wins, like my singular self-interest, I'm not unabashed. I do not hide that. I do not hide that that's why I voted for him. Singular self-interest was that the war in Ukraine ends and I can return to my old job doing what I love. But in this alternate universe, if Biden was still there, the Democrats, they haven't been spanked enough, Ted. We would be so much worse, I think, in a war footing if Blinken continued to be the Secretary of State. If everything was status quo from a year ago, I think we would be on a worse sinking ship than we are right now.
I mean, look, obviously, there's no way to know that. And I think you're right about maybe all of it, but certainly most of it. I'm not sure about Iran. I don't know how that would have gone.
Either.
I don't know if the U.S. would have bombed Iran and risked World War III, although we seem to have dodged a bullet there. And that's a whole different topic for a different show. But
because of the Iranian restraint, Trump put us in that position to allow.
Also, that's right. But also, interestingly,
the fate of the world.
It all turned out to be performative. The U.S. also warned Iran it was coming so they could get their nuclear stuff out. So nobody's really that
world
mad.
Is a stage.
And it's all completely weirdly performative. Anyway, I don't know. But I mean, look, here's the thing. This is, without a doubt, the worst political scandal. I don't know in terms of the effects of it, but certainly in terms of the scale of it. It's the biggest political scandal in U.S. history by far. I mean, when you think about previous scandals like Teapot Dome or, Andrew Johnson or,
the
Watergate,
blue dress,
but Monica Gate, all of that stuff it pales in significance compared to this. I mean, literally, a major political party conspired to put a mentally and physically diminished man into the most powerful office of the U.S. government. They lied to the voters. So, Democrats are always talking about democracy and how Trump threatens democracy, and they make some good points, but nothing says that you hate democracy more than when you only have two parties, you install a fake candidate as one of those two, and you present him as something that he's not, right? I mean, this isn't something, to put this into perspective, if Biden had transitioned to becoming a woman, it would be far less significant that they lied about that. Secretly, he doesn't have a penis anymore. Secretly, he's a girl. But that doesn't affect his ability to govern. You put in a mentally diminished man into the presidency, basically that means he's not going to be making the decisions, or he's going to be making decisions that aren't trustworthy or reliable for the American people. That's terrifying. Right. They conspired to do that. They knew they were doing it. Then they covered it up. And every single day that they decided not to remove him under the 29th Amendment is a day that they decided to keep. I'm sorry, the 14th Amendment. It's a day that they decided to just continue the lie to the American people. That's a huge political scandal. And then they tried to, and also, there's all sorts of corollaries to it, Manila. Like, they knew they were putting in this old addled fool. Well, when you have this scam going, probably your vice president should be awesome, right? Like the best vice president we ever had. Like Theodore Roosevelt in 1901, good vice president, right? It's like,
or able to step in like LBJ.
For example. But instead, they chose Kamala Harris because they didn't take that decision seriously. So they didn't have a plan A, they didn't have a plan B, and they just decided, fuck it, we'll wing it. And then to try to extend it, into another 4 years, and to think that the American people were going to be able to be hoodwinked on national television, that they weren't going to believe their own lying eyes, that the president was senile. It's unbelievable. So, by the way, I have an announcement to make. 12:30 Eastern Time on Deprogram with John Kiriakou and I. We're interviewing Jake Tapper.
Oh, no.
Come with your questions. Rumble and YouTube.
It's live.
It's live. No ground rules.
Tapper's agreeing to come on.
Tapper is not, to his credit, did not request any no-go, no-fly zones. But, if you come to troll, you're going to be trolling in silence, because John and I are polite people, so we are going to be polite, but we are going to put, we're going to ask, the real questions. We're not there. Jake Tapper's not on trial. I really am just super interested in knowing. He's the man who literally knows more about this topic than anyone else. So I want to find out what he knows.
Ted, and I've said it many times over.
I know everyone's going to want to ask him that one.
Look, we're looking at the C-SPAN. We're looking at the C-SPAN coverage of it was sponsored
Tapper
by
was the
CNN.
moderator here of this.
Yeah, Tapper was Tapper
and
Anna Bash.
Literally.
And then afterwards, he went and ran cover. He tried to modestly be like, oh, oh, well, the president is kind of under the weather. He just flew into town and blah, like he still sought ways to defend the performance, but not totally. So this is where Tapper starts straying away. This is where he does the pivot from the other 4 years of him. So just a lot. I don't know. I don't have any respect for how Tapper handled the Biden presidency at all. At all. He was in on the scam.
Well, here's the thing, Manila, right? So we are not, in journalism, there's the pundit hat and then there's the straight reporter hat. Jake wears the straight reporter hat, always. He's not a pundit. We're pundits. We get to opinionate. We get to speculate. We don't have to source anything. He does. He can't he can't go to his bosses and say the president's senile. I want to report it, without being able to say I have a few members of the administration who are willing to go on the record and say
no. But
so.
Besides that,
he can't do that.
They won't. But that's not how a TV show works, and you and I know that. Even with at least with mainstream news, you have producers who are going to bring on only voices that are going to confirm the non-provable. Joe Biden is sharp as a tack behind closed doors. That's all the pundits that you're bringing on.
Fair, but but I don't think there was a single person in the know who could certify Biden's, mental incompetence.
No, Ted,
who was willing to go on camera and wasn't able to get through to a producer.
Jake Tapper excoriated Laura Trump for pointing out that Joe Biden was clearly, in her opinion, he looked like a senile old grandpa. And Jake Tapper excoriated her and painted her as some mean schoolyard bully because Joe Biden are you making fun of his stammer because he has a stutter? Are you making fun? There's millions of children in this country that have, stammers and speech impediments.
Yeah.
And like he was trying to, elongate the whole his tirade on her by saying, kids with speech impediments. Are you trying to? So yes, in effect, Tapper was in fact running cover and trying to play the straight. No, like he was not. We all know that. Of course,
be asked about that. So I'm
but
sure.
He never apologized to Laura Trump.
He has an answer. I'm sure he has an answer for it. You can tune in at 12:30 Eastern to find out what that answer is.
So that'll be interesting to hear from him, what he has to say. But I don't
think there's ever been any format, by the way, in which he's appeared live and taken questions from the audience, right? I don't think so.
Does he know that he's going to get audience questions?
He knows about the show. He knows the format of the show.
Okay. All right.
No ground rules, which I respect. I that's the way I roll. I don't impose ground rules either.
No rules in the octagon.
No fighting in the war room. Okay.
All right.
So
there's that, and I can't believe it was just 1 year ago because it already feels like that was a different lifetime ago.
Oh, I mean, honestly, if we announced today that Joe Biden has passed away, who would be surprised? Right.
That's what I mean is like, how did they suddenly have the country have this mass awakening when at least one half of the other half of the country was like, this guy's senile. Like, how did the other half of the country decide to wake up and follow suit like that? And I'll tell you why. It was because their news programming programmed them to see it. They planted the seed, and then it's called priming, right? Like in psychological parlance, it's priming. So if you prime somebody to see this ink blot as an elephant, more than likely, the test subject is going to see the Rorschach test that's an elephant because you just told them about a story about an elephant. So that's what happened here is people like Tapper and the rest of the mainstream media had been priming their audience for years about Biden being the best, most mentally acute president ever. And behind closed doors, we bet you Joe Scarborough. He's the sharpest man I've ever met. Like,
I want to tell Joe, you got to get out more.
Like, dude, do you just not know any smart people? Like, good grief. But that's what it is like, we had the mainstream media doing mental priming of their audience for 4 years. And then when they turned on the dime, once George Clooney, the de facto cultural leader of the DNC, once he dropped the dime on Joe, everybody else followed suit. And then they primed the voters to be like, oh yeah, Joe Biden's senile, as if the last 4 years of their support never happened. That is called mental priming. And that's exactly what people like Jake Tapper did. So he carried water, and I'll never forgive him for that.
I'll tell him Manila's pissed at you.
Manila Chan will never forgive you for that.
All right. Okay. Well,
true story. So, all right. So,
am I doing
this one?
Personally, I give Jake props for writing the book. I'm sure he didn't make any Democratic friends for writing.
He still needs a mea culpa on that to be like, yeah, I fucked up.
All right. Well,
like, I really do.
I take your point about I'm going to go back and look at the Laura Trump thing again. I want to be sure.
But yeah,
I don't remember it, to be honest.
He gave Lara Trump, I think she pronounces it Lara. Lara Trump. I think he talked shit to Lara Trump and basically gave the wink nod to his producers to like cut her mic and kick her off. Like, I know those physical cues. I've been there. I've been an anchor. I know what he was trying to do. He wanted to get in a couple punches and then have his people drag her away before she can swing back. And that's what happened. That's not cool. So,
well, I'm going to take a look.
And she was right. And she was, and here we are a year later. She was 100% right. So there you go. All right. This one, I guess I'll do this quick read.
Rock and roll.
So the U.S. Supreme Court may rule today on Donald Trump's attempt to broadly enforce his executive order to limit birthright citizenship. That would be huge. A move that would affect thousands of babies born each year. I would say millions each year as the Republican president.
Isn't it like 150,000 or something like that? Yeah, it's 150,000.
Babies born
it's 150,000 newborns each year,
approximately. Born to non-citizens.
In other words, people, yeah, exactly, in the United States, on U.S. soil.
Specifically born to non. I was going to say we have tens of millions of births.
Oh, for sure,
year.
But that's not. They won't be affected. Right.
So we're talking about kids that are born to non-legal immigrants. Mm-hmm. So undocumented, et cetera, et cetera.
Tourists, it includes tourists.
That happens too. There's a whole industry, Ted, in with Chinese tourism. Uh-huh. They do like baby, what do they call them? Like labor tours, like literally. Yeah. And they tell their Chinese clients to hide their pregnancy as much as they can. And
it's like,
I'm here, so
like my wife is not pregnant. She's fat.
Oh, she's so fat.
She's so fat. Eat too many ramen noodle.
I like this.
Like,
retain too much water.
She looked pregnant. Yeah, she retained water. Shut
too
up.
Much,
don't
much.
Look at belly. Gross man.
Yeah. So the administration has made an emergency request for the justices to scale back injunctions issued by federal judges in Maryland, Washington, and Massachusetts, blocking Trump's directive nationwide. The judges found that Trump's order likely violates citizenship language in the U.S. Constitution's 14th Amendment. On his first day back in office, so as Trump 47, he signed an executive order. If you guys recall, it feels like 1,000 years ago already, but in January, he signed an EO directing federal agencies to refuse to recognize the citizenship of children born in the United States who do not have at least one parent who is an American citizen or at least a lawful permanent resident, meaning a green card holder. More than 150,000 newborns, as Ted said earlier, would at this point be denied citizenship annually. That's an average number. according to the plaintiffs who challenged it, including the Democratic attorneys general of 22 states, as well as immigrants' rights advocates and pregnant immigrants themselves, very angry about it. The case before the Supreme Court was unusual in that the administration used it to argue that federal judges lack the authority to issue nationwide or universal injunctions, and asked the justices at SCOTUS to rule that way and enforce the president's directive, even without weighing its legal merits. The plaintiffs argue that Trump's directive ran afoul of the 14th Amendment, which was ratified in 1868 in the aftermath of the Civil War that went on from 1861 to 65 that ended slavery in the United States. We just had Juneteenth, a couple days ago, last week, which because the news took that long that slavery was over to reach Texas. The 14th Amendment's citizenship clause states that, quote, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. The administration contends that the 14th Amendment, long understood to confer citizenship to virtually anyone born in the United States, does not extend to immigrants who are in the country illegally, or even to immigrants whose presence is lawful but temporary, such as university students or people here on work visas. In a June 11th and 12th poll from Reuters and Ipsos, they found 24% of all respondents supported ending birthright citizenship, but 52% opposed it. Among Democrats, 5% supported ending it, 84% opposed it. Republicans, 43% support ending it, 24% opposed. The rest said they were unsure or they just didn't respond to the question. So, I mean, I guess it could be a new legal definition. I don't know. I understand, Robbie's had his take, and we've talked about this before. The 14th Amendment, it was supposed to be conferred to the slaves actually, being free and now being whole, independent U.S. citizen persons, right? Persons of the United States. And it, the 3/5 thing wouldn't be abolished till later and whatever. So I get that was the situation surrounding how the 14th Amendment came to be. But the language is so broad, and I'm no legal expert. The language is it's so simple, but yet so broad that I should we take it, Ted, as it's written in the most simplistic form that says basically you're born here, you're American.
Well, we should take it that way because it's been settled law since the late 19th century. There was a Chinese American dude who basically whose case, there were a number of cases, but it was his case that settled this in the 1890s. And basically at that time, the Supreme Court ruled that he was a citizen because he was born here. And so basically anybody who's born here, whether they were a former slave or not, it becomes a U.S. citizen. And that's how birthright citizenship, as we know it, was created. I think the 14th Amendment has very plain language, and certainly the originalists will complain. But what's before the Supreme Court here is not really the underlying issue of the 14th Amendment. What's really before it is the issue of universal injunctions. So even no matter how the court rules, the fundamental issue of the 14th Amendment and whether it applies to, whether it really establishes birthright citizenship, that remains unsettled. Now, I would say it's been settled, since the 1890s. So the question before the court is, do they want to pull a Dobbs decision and reverse the court's previous decision? They can. There's a general, under stare decisis, there's a general tendency not to do so. I don't really see any reason not to do so. Roe v. Wade was a very poorly reasoned decision, and it was always vulnerable to being overturned. This case from the 1890s, most legal experts say, is not like that. The court would have to run through some serious rhetorical and logical loops.
Wong Kim Ark is who you're talking about, right?
Right.
Right.
In order to reverse
In San
that
Francisco.
case, it would really be. I mean, I don't even know how the court could get there. So I don't think they will. I think they certainly might get rid of universal injunctions, which both liberals and conservatives have complained about over the years. So that could happen, and then that would effectively mean that the 14th Amendment cases would then have to be resolved on their own merit. So I think, so it's one thing at a time. First,
so
you deal with the injunction issue, then you deal with the 14th Amendment.
So look, I have mixed feelings about this, because on the one hand, for example, if your parent is a diplomat or works for, is from a foreign country, your parent, right? And your parent comes to work here at your home country's embassy.
Mm-hmm.
Those people are here on a diplomatic visa, right? And sometimes the wives or the women that work there, they're here for a few years. They get pregnant. They have a kid in the U.S.
Have sex if they come here. I don't know if they know that.
Oh, is that part of the rule? Well,
Yeah.
like, for example, I know a woman who was born and raised here in the U.S. She's around my age. She's in her 40s. Her dad was a Burmese diplomat, and then Burma ceased to exist and became Myanmar. In that time, as you know, Ted, because it wasn't that long ago that
Burma didn't cease to exist. It just was
rebranded to
yeah.
Myanmar. But anyway, her dad was a diplomat.
Which, by the way,
she was born here.
The new government had the best acronym of all acronyms that have ever been acronyms. It was the State Law and Order Restoration Council. SLORC.
SLORC? I don't know about that. But anyway, the thing is, she, for most of her life, I don't actually know if she's gotten her citizenship now. I don't ask the citizenship status of my friends. Maybe their origin story, but I don't make it a point to ask friends citizenship.
You're not an ICE officer,
status. Right? Like I don't care. I don't know. I don't care. And so all I know is that she was born here to parents that were here on diplomatic visas.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the state of Burma ceased to exist, the parents then could not go back. Right. So because they were in this violent coup.
They would have been killified. Yeah.
Right. So they could never go back. Right. Because the new Myanmar government was not cool with the Burmese government. So none of this family was going back. So they're all here in the U.S. And even though she was born here, she understood that she wasn't technically American because of her parents. She was born when her parents had the diplomatic status.
What do you mean she was not technically American? So is diplomatic status?
You don't know that?
No.
Yeah, if you're here on diplomatic status, your kids are not American if they're born here.
Oh.
They're born under the citizenship rights of their home country.
I mean, although the situation that you describe would seem to call for an exception to the exception, wouldn't you say?
No, that's those are the rules we have in the books for them diplomats.
But do you understand what I'm saying? I mean, like in her case.
But now that she's an adult, she could petition, obviously. But that's different.
Literally, it's like she's stuck here. She's effectively become stateless. It's not like she's an anchor baby. She needs to live somewhere. So
right.
I
mean, she's in her 40s. She was born and raised here in Virginia.
So what happened? Did she end up getting?
No, she's here. I mean, I don't know. She might be a citizen now. I don't know. I don't ask.
Don't
important
ask,
to me.
don't tell.
My friend's legal status or residency status is not important to me. So that was my whole point. Is I don't know, but should it be that that people should understand the 14th Amendment in the same way that diplomats understand their visa for being here? Should it just kind of be applied that way going forward so that people understand, like, there would never be this conversation of anchor babies? Do you know what I'm saying? So the diplomats, of course, they're here legally. So they know that if they have children here, the children will have passports from their country of origin. not the United
Unless their
States.
country of origin doesn't want them anymore.
Ceases to exist. So I don't know. Maybe that's how, I don't know. Maybe if going forward to address some of that, maybe if it's not an outright ban on the 14th Amendment, maybe there is a tweak to how it's applied in terms of, okay, if you're here on a visa.
Well, only Congress can, well, not even Congress, right? Congress
So
and 2/3 of the states have to vote to repeal the 14th Amendment. That's not going to happen.
Well,
the Supreme
maybe
Court,
SCOTUS,
the Supreme Court
know.
can't. What we're talking about here is not a repeal of the amendment. We're talking about here is interpretation of the
Right.
amendment. So,
maybe they can interpret it the way we understand diplomatic
well,
visa.
we do understand it because of the case that you mentioned.
Wong Kim Ark or
Yeah, Ark. We
whatever, Ark.
I mean,
Wong.
Pardon?
The Wong case.
Yeah, the Wong case.
The Wong case was
Wong
right.
case is not wrong.
That's correct.
Two Wongs
So
make a right.
I don't know. Maybe so. That's what I'm getting at here. Is maybe SCOTUS will come down on the ruling in a way that it sets precedent to tweak the 14th Amendment in a sense that they'll say, okay, if all the people that are here,
well, they might, but that's not what's before them now. What's before them now is this question of universal injunctions, which will have applications outside of the 14th Amendment. All sorts of applications. I mean, it's like, because if a federal court in district whatever decides it makes a ruling, if you want that ruling to apply to everyone in the country, it's going to have to go to every district court in the country. It'll clog the courts, and there are a number of situations where a justice really does need to impose a sweeping national injunction, like when Trump was doing mass deportations that were deemed to be of people who had legal status, that kind of thing. You need emergency relief. You can't have lawyers hopscotching across the country, going from one district court to the next. It just doesn't work. I suspect what's going to happen is that the SCOTUS is going to tweak the universal injunction rule to say that to limit the application so that it can't be used as broadly as it's being used now, but it'll still exist. Oh, Manila, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, they're going to need a lot more time to. They can't punt on it, right? SCOTUS cannot punt.
Oh, well, but they've agreed. I think they agreed to hear it, right? So, but they could sort of punt. But anyway, I think that they're either, certainly I don't think universal injunctions are going to go away entirely. They probably won't go away at all, but they certainly might be trimmed.
And I wonder
because
if Clarence Thomas
they've been criticized by legal scholars across the ideological spectrum. So for that reason alone, I think it's likely to survive.
Do you think Clarence Thomas is okay to hear this case, considering he had his gay birthday bash or something with Donald Trump
he might
the other day?
Recovering. I won't get into the latest news about anal warts. Oh, I will. There's a new study out that shows that butt cancer is way up.
All right,
caused mostly by anal warts. Just so you know.
Oh, all right. Let's do this. Let's do this next story.
All right. This one's mine, right? All right.
Yeah.
A week after Trump won the election, State Assembly member Zohran Mamdani was on Hillside Avenue here in New York City, in the borough of Queens, and Fordham Road in the Bronx, mic in hand, looking for working class New Yorkers who voted for Trump, despite normally voting for Democrats. Affordability was a driving factor in the Trump Democrats' decision, according to Mamdani's video. Rent is expensive, food is going up, utility bills are up, one person Mamdani interviewed said. These Trump voters, became a key part of Mamdani's strategy in his stunning win over Cuomo. 8 months after Trump made gains among New York City's working class and immigrants, the city's Democrats have chosen Mamdani, Democratic Socialist, and Mamdani said his strategist of wooing Trump voters about affordability and prices will continue into the general election. Will mainstream Democrats take a page from this? Who knows? A Gothamist analysis found that Mamdani won 30% of the primary districts that Trump won last year and got 35,000 votes in districts that went for Trump. Around the Jamaica Hills Queens intersection, where Mamdani made that movie, voters moved toward the GOP by 25 points. On Tuesday, Mamdani won there with 84.2% of the vote.
Wow. So, Ted, wait.
Go ahead.
So Mamdani ran on MAGA.
He did. He absolutely did. And also the rent is too damn high.
Well, that's part of MAGA, right?
Yeah.
Is get price controls in there but when Trump says it, it's not communism or socialism.
It's just talkism.
When a
socialist
really says it, that's socialism.
Yeah, when Trump wants to.
But he ran on MAGA.
Yeah, he basically did. That's right. This has been a left-wing insurgent populist movement that took some cues, well, from Bernie Sanders primarily, but also from Donald Trump, who also took some cues from Bernie Sanders. Gothamist went out in search of voters on Hillside Avenue who voted both for Mamdani and Trump. They weren't hard to find. I know so many people voted for Trump, including my family, and other people, said Shah Rahman, 27, who said the same people are now voting for Mamdani. He said he's one of them. He said, I feel like Mamdani is for the people, and he wants to make public transportation free for the city. And so I just thought that was a super interesting story.
Those numbers are kind of wild.
Populism. It's about populism.
But Ted, I also think that didn't hurt having AOC campaign for him in a very, very revealing dress and being very bouncy on his float. I mean, just if you're looking on the screen,
I'm watching.
It's no wonder she was bouncing around like on the float.
I mean, she's kind of Robbie's type.
Oh, she's very, very busty. Mm-hmm. Did you not know that?
I guess I didn't really know that. No.
Oh yeah. She's a very curvaceous woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm gonna say that didn't hurt. That did not hurt the straight male vote. I'm just saying.
No. When there's an attractive young Latina woman with
bouncing around for you on the.
By the way, she looks prettier now than she used to. She's definitely.
Oh, she looks great.
She's prettier now than she was 5 years ago, for sure.
Well, she's grown into being like a woman now. Because she was like a 20-something kid at the time, and now she's like a grown woman in her 30s. So she looks great. I think so. But like, I think her enthusiasm and her and Bernie that going on this weird tour, right? They made him a speaker at their New York City tour, so that obviously helped him, I think, a lot. But again, I'm also very I was very let down by Bernie. And how that whole thing fizzled.
Wait, what?
I'm let down
I'm sorry,
by.
I don't know what you're talking about right now.
What do you mean? Like with Bernie decides to fall in line every time he gets walloped by the DNC, and he has no fucking teeth and puts his tail between his legs every fucking time. He doesn't deserve anybody to vote him back into any office, into dog catcher at this point. He has no fucking teeth left. He should just retire. He's a multimillionaire now from his tours and his books. Just let it go, Bernie. We know that you didn't mean what you said, because you fall in line and then you kiss the ring for Hillary Clinton. You fall in line and you kiss the ring for Joe Biden. So your word means nothing. Like I was back in the day, his first go round, I was a supporter of Bernie Sanders. I felt the burn, and then I just got burned. So there was that. AOC, obviously I'm not from New York, so I can't vote for her, couldn't have voted for her. But same thing. She kind of proved to be a fraud, because when Nancy Pelosi gave her a little bit of a stink eye, she fell in line too. So none of these progressives, I've just been let down by everybody in every party. So I no longer really actually support anybody, because I've been doing this for too long in news, anytime I secretly have supported somebody, because I can't say it on air, right? Because, I have to be a neutral journalist. Anytime I say it on air, I can't say it on air. So I've secretly supported people in my heart. And I think it makes it worse because you can't even let some steam off, right?
Uh-huh.
And so when you get let down, it's even worse because you held it so close, like literally in your heart. All these people have let me down. So I just have no fucking faith because they all fall in line and kiss the ring of whoever's the anointed one by the DNC. So I just whatever. I don't care. Just I'll vote for Clovis. I'll write Clovis in. It doesn't matter.
So
Our voting
Clovis will
system
never let
is
you
a
down.
sham. I agree. Otherwise, the American electoral system is a fucking sham, and it's all about money and it's all about lies. So it doesn't matter. And by the way, Elise Stefanik says she's going to run for your governor. Have fun with that.
How's she going to do that?
She says that, now that Trump, she just didn't officially announce, but she told the press that that's probably what she's going to do this morning after Trump. Remember Trump embarrassingly withdrew her ambassador to the UN nomination.
I remember vividly.
And so now she's finally saying, I think I'm going to go ahead and return to local politics and run for New York governor. I don't know how that is going to work when clearly the tide has run this way to Zohran.
Yeah, I don't know what she's
So who's going to vote for her?
No one. She's the devil.
She's awful. She's awful. I saw her talking at CPAC. Every word out of her, every other word was Israel. It was not America. It was Israel. I was there in the room at CPAC and I couldn't. Wow. Just wow. Everything about her was about.
Yeah, she's foul.
That. Anyway.
All right.
Let's make this one the last story, Ted, because we're running over.
Yeah, we are.
All right. That's all you.
Oh, really? Oh, you do number 4 or number 5?
No, we'll do number 4.
Okay.
The brain.
The brain is a complex organ. Not only is it made up of multiple
it's the
parts,
sexiest organ.
all of which have important roles to play in processing information, but the way your brain learns also can change based on what activities you take part in. For the longest time, the act of zoning out and aimlessly wandering around town, a store, or any other venue was viewed in a negative light. In other words, if you saw Biden ambling around town.
I was just going to say, so Georgia Maloney was interrupting his brilliance.
Right. However, new research in the journal Nature suggests that it might actually be the opposite. Instead of being bad for you, wandering around aimlessly can unlock new potential for your brain to learn quicker. The act of learning without much structure, often called unsupervised learning, can actually be very helpful to your brain's development. According to the researchers' findings, mice that were exposed to unstructured environments and allowed to aimlessly wander through their surroundings were actually quicker to learn to complete reward-linked tasks than the other mice. This research raises new questions about the way the brain learns. To discover this, the researchers had to capture the activity of tens of thousands of neurons at the same time. When looking back at the data, the scientists uncovered a startling new truth. Learning can occur even when there aren't any specific tasks or goals involved. As the mice explored their environment, the neurons found in the visual cortex, a section of the brain responsible for processing information, actually encode visual features into the brain. This helps build an internal model of the world around the animal. Then, once a more goal-oriented task is placed in front of them, the information obtained by aimlessly wandering actually helped speed up learning for those more specific tasks. Manila, what this reminded me of is the way that I understand the bots and the spiders on the internet that are used for search engines like Google. They wander around and they just explore the internet randomly, and they feed back the information that they find about, here's this website, here's that website. They feed it back to Google, and it's just a wandering, and they're doing that all the time, and that's what basically keeps the information up to date, much in the same way that the Google cars drive around and for street view, and they randomly take, and it's all the time, and It just feeds the information, and obviously some of it's more up to date than others. But it kind of reminds me of that. The more you walk around your environment, like let's say you walk around a city randomly, the better you will understand what's there, even if you're not looking for something specifically, like where's the CVS, but you might remember if someone brings up later on, hey, do you know if there's a CVS? You might remember more or less where it is.
I agree. When I travel, Ted, I seldom have like my day totally mapped out. Like if I'm in Paris, obviously I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I see the Eiffel Tower. I need to make sure I go to the Louvre. But outside of that, like the few times I was in and out of Paris, after I saw those big things, after that, I decided, because I was there on work trips, I would just kind of meander around the city, right? And I felt like I learned so much more than if I were to like look at a map and go, okay, I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go to the Champs-Élysées at this time, and then I'm going to go here. Like I just wandered, and I'd end up in little alleyways, like 17th century alleyways of like, and find amazing little restaurants and things that stuck with me. Whereas I couldn't tell you the things that I actually mapped out and saw at the Louvre, other than like the Mona Lisa encased in glass. Like outside of that, I have more recall about the places that I can see them now in my memory from the places I just randomly wandered off to, right? And I think that speaks to that. And I'm kind of fine. Call me a crazy California hippy dippy, whatever.
All right, crazy California hippy dippy, whatever.
So yes, call me that. And it's true what we've kind of talked about in California in terms of like education. These and granted, given my age, my teachers and professors and stuff were actual like hippies. Shocker. Like they'd wear Birkenstocks with socks, which is weird. But they'd come to class, like they look like they're hippies from the 60s still. And we've talked about stuff like this in college about how they believed like the parochial style of teaching class, and like here's the the study guide for the class, and you got to do this and this and this. And it was more, when I had those teachers, I learned more. And then I was engaged in random class conversations and whatever, rather than the teachers that were completely, I thought I enjoyed more the teacher that had the study guide, the rubrics, the week by week. And because I thought it was easy to follow along. But fast forward 20 plus years out of college, it turns out I learned more were from the teachers that were the hippies that were kind of like, yeah, let's just have these conversations about whatever, about literature and string theory. I learned more from them and it stuck. So I think that study is great. And I think that we should apply that to children, because when you try to make them sit down, they're 5 years old, they're kindergartners, like my son's age. You try to make them sit down or in their spot. And I get some of it is socializing, but if the idea of school is to teach children to learn the world around them and for them to be better educated adults one day, maybe we actually need to apply some of my hippy dippy California professors' theories of how we teach people things, and not be like, you're talking out of turn. You're going to the principal's office. Maybe we need to apply a different approach. If studies like this are proving out that people learn more when you allow them to just kind of lead their own path of individual learning. That's my hippy dippy screed.
I like it, and I agree with you. Before we go, the Supreme Court has ruled on that birthright citizenship issue. So along the normal 6-3 ideological lines, the conservative majority has sided with Donald Trump to narrow the scope of nationwide injunctions imposed by judges. So from now on, when it comes to this birthright citizenship proposal, these nationwide injunctions will only apply to groups and individuals that sued. They do not apply to those who don't have standing or who are in a class, that is related to it in another district. Justice Amy Coney Barrett wrote for the majority, when a court concludes that the executive branch has acted unlawfully, the answer is not for the court to exceed its power to. In dissent, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson said that this decision is an existential threat to the rule of law. So basically, there's still the issue of this is only about injunctions, but it's pretty important. The 14th Amendment issue still has to be litigated or will be litigated, and this is not a ruling about that. Just to be clear,
right?
So
but
basically,
they
kind of did what we talked about a few minutes ago.
Yeah, it does set the stage, because then it kind of, I feel like it's priming, as we talked about earlier in Shrink Talk, you're priming Congress to look at it a certain way. So while this doesn't change the law, it does kind of, I believe, Ted, it does influence Congress and the potential that if somebody is able to bring forth an amendment, which nobody, I don't know when Ted, look that up. When was the last time there was an actual amendment that Congress voted on?
To the Constitution?
Yeah.
I want to say it was like around 1980 over a pretty minor thing. It's, here we go. The 27th Amendment, 1992 is when it was ratified. It prohibits any law that changes the salary of members of Congress from taking effect until after an election of the House of Representatives.
Wow, Ted. So the last time they voted for an actual amendment is something that concerns them and their pay.
Correct.
Wow.
That's how that is. Also, another hilarious, this is a little personal for me, Gavin Newsom is suing Fox News for $787 million, saying that Jesse Waters and John Roberts distorted the timeline of facts about his calls between Trump and Newsom. A reporter, John Roberts, not
I was like, what? Because I'm looking at John Roberts.
Not the justice.
Okay.
Anyway, long story short, he sued for defamation. Oh my God. So, it was Newsom who ultimately corruptly kneecapped my defamation case against the LA Times. I hope that Fox files an anti-slap motion against his hypocritical ass and fucks him the way that Newsom fucked me with the same anti-slap stupid fucking law that shouldn't exist. There.
That's why I'm laughing. If people know, they know. Ted's explained the story.
Yeah, we're not going to get into it now. Anyway,
so there it is. So anyway, that's what we look ahead to for the weekend. I don't think there's going to be any World War III.
Do you have a show this afternoon?
No, that's canned.
Oh, poor Kay.
Yeah, that's because I have too many commitments now that I'm a jobless loser. I have to find other ways to try to make an income. So that, and it does not, obviously, I'm not endowed like AOC, so I'm not doing an OnlyFans, and I'm not saying she does, but she could. She could.
I'm pretty sure she does not. Yes.
But she really could. Is my point.
Well, lots of uglier people do. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm not, so yeah. So no more Friday shows, at least until I can sort out life.
Mm-hmm.
So, too many personal projects going on.
12:30 Eastern, Jake Tapper, deprogrammed.
Jake, deprogrammed. These two, don't be super nice. Don't be a bitch, Ted. Don't be a bitch to Tapper. Don't be like by that I mean kowtow to him.
No one's going to be happy.
Don't kowtow to him.
Nobody's going to be happy when you interview someone like that. There's no one's happy. You're either not nice enough or you're too nice. You know,
Don't be too nice is my point.
I'm just going to be myself. And if people like it, they like it. If they don't like it, they don't like it. That's how it is.
I'm not saying you have to be like Dr. Shiva level rageful and scornful.
No. I don't know how to do that.
But don't acquiesce, and I'm just saying, because I think he deserves a little bit more scorn than I think you're willing to give him. Just saying.
Well, I think I think the issue.
Go get him, Tiger.
I think the issue is less about him specifically than about the role of the media in general in covering this up. Because, let's face it, all those reporters in Washington, they all knew. They had to know.
They know, and they're part of the machine. That's
and when
the point.
You should be able to try to find. You should work hard to see if you can get an important story on the record so you can report it.
But no one cared to look into it, and anybody that dared to look into it was some sort of heretic in Washington. That is the story. That's the story.
Yeah.
Because if you dare bring it up, you're some asshole ageist. You're not a doctor. You're not. That's all of the mainstream media.
But
you're maligned.
It's one thing to know something, but
if you question,
you have to be able to source it.
If you question more, you're maligned as some sort of Trumpy or Russian propagandist or whatever.
True. I know.
How dare you question Joe Biden's? How dare you with the scorn of a young Greta Thunberg? So there you go. So that is the whole point. Is Jake Tapper is the face of the mainstream media today. Like that's who people think of. If you say MSM, people think Jake Tapper.
Do they? Do they really?
Yeah. He's like the ubiquitous face of mainstream news. So that's why I have so much scorn about that whole situation, because anybody that dare step out of line to even consider putting a question out there that wasn't complimentary to Joe Biden's position, you were some sort of heretic. You were some evil bitch bastard. And therefore, that was the tone. And I'm here in Washington. I'm telling you, Ted, that is the tone. That was the tone. If you would get side eye. I would get side eye in public from other reporters if I brushed past them. Downtown DC is not that big. Let me just tell people, right? Like you see people and you get side eye because how dare you say anything contrary to the official Biden White House narrative? How dare you? Have a good weekend, everybody. Tune in to Deprogrammed 12:30. See? Yes?
12:30 Eastern.
12:30. Okay. 12:30 Eastern.
Peace.
Adios, amigos. Have a great weekend. Bye everybody.
Talk to you later.
Have a good show. Bye, guys.